All right, for segment 2, we are going to talk about combat. And oh my God, this one, a lot of people are probably like, that last video you put out was only a couple minutes long. That was pretty good. Appreciate that. This one is not going to be that. Just giving you a heads up now.
It's going to be the other thing.
It's going to be the other thing. It's going to be the, can you fast forward through some of this? No, we can't, because it is a read through and a deep dive. So let's go through our proclivities again, because we love our proclivities so much. And we believe that role-playing games should take place in fantastic worlds, and that the focus of the game should be on role-playing and having a good time. Core values of #RPGate in any good tabletop group are escapism, not representation, entertainment over activism, and natural organic inclusion, not forced diversity, no matter what WotC tries to put in its new OGL. We have to have the ability to stop hate speech. It's in a game. Get over it. The charity we support is the Wounded Warrior Project, a national nonpartisan organization whose mission is to honor and empower wounded warriors. Please refer to the description below for the link where you can make a tax-deductible donation or take a little QR snap of that Scan Me logo right there, and you'll be a happy, happy person. I should do? I should actually have that Scan Me logo go to our website.
Yeah.
Anyway, just be fraud. Fraud all over the place, right?
Well, funny fraud.
Funny fraud. Funny for us. Anyway, join us on Thursdays and Saturday evenings on twitch.tv/legionofmyth to watch Heathen Dog and his team of dirty casuals play multiplayer games for your mockery and enjoyment. Quick question for you.
Shoot.
How much longer do you think you're going to go on with Dungeons & Dragons Online? And this is not a complaint. I'm just asking.
No, not much longer.
Okay.
I think a lot of us are getting a little tired of it, so we're going to move on to something else. And if someone has a game in mind, has to be multiplayer. It doesn't have to be cooperative, but we like cooperative. And if it's free, that's a bonus. Go ahead and throw it in our Discord, and I'll check it out. Awesome.
And of course, here on our YouTube channel, you can watch these game-related segments live every Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Time, or check out the Friday Night Chill stream where a panel of guests opine, comment, and editorialize on the TTRPG hobby as a whole. And you guys know this. We're in a live stream. We're going to yap-a-doodle. We're going to say things. We're going to drive each other crazy. It's what we do. We do it for you.
And as an example, Brave the Knight is only one penny away from getting into heaven. Oh. Purposeful. This has to be on purpose, because his other donation was straight up $2, which means he's not on a mobile that's screwing him over. He's screwing himself over. Hey, you know what? St. Peter has our ledger, man. He's really good at math. He's going to know you're a penny shy.
Yeah, we don't round.
There's no rounding up here. You hit it or you don't. It's a threshold, baby.
And for the folks who are like, what are they talking about? Well, if you'd watched the live stream, you'd know.
You'd know.
All right. So let me just get back into the book. Oh, let me F11 this thing so I can get a little bit more on the screen there. Yeah, combat basics. Now, the fun is going to commence. We'll try to keep this entertaining. We'll try to keep this interesting for you, but there's going to be a lot of information, because combat is a lot of information, and this is a read-through. It's a deep dive. We're going to focus on this stuff now. As you can probably tell if you looked at the cover of this book, this game is about shooties.
Yep. Pew, pew.
So, combat should play out dramatically with pulse-pounding, action-packed encounters. Characters have a number of resources at their disposal to accomplish cinematic feats of heroism.
That is true.
I wanted to read this so people right off the bat know what they're getting into. It doesn't say for your tactical simulation.
No.
It says dramatically, pulse-pounding, action-packed encounters, cinematic feats of heroism.
Yes.
Remember that.
Yes. If the writers of this book are in the room and you ask them, what kind of cinematic combat are you thinking of? I mean, what's your idea of a cinematic combat? And one of them is going to say, you ever see Saving Private Ryan? The very beginning? That. I want that in your game. That would make me happy. That's the kind of cinematic they're looking for. It's gritty, but it's dramatic. It pushes everyone forward. They want to do the next thing. That's the awesome part. That's what they're looking for here. Do they make it? I don't know. We're going to find out.
The combat rounds and time. I have a funny feeling that for some people, this is going to be the first part of like, oh, wait, what's going on here? And I only say this because let's be honest, they're kind of two sides of the gaming fence. There are more than that, but I'm generalizing into two. They're the simulationists, and then there are, I don't want to call them the role players. Well, I'm just saying it. They're the role players, okay? And what I mean by that, the simulationists want that tactical combat. They want the Pathfinder combat. They want the wargaming combat. How long it says I have actions. Well, how long does it take me to do this action? Oh, I can actually pull a trigger 15 times in 1 second. Whatever happens to be. So, they try to nitpick that stuff. The other people are like, go with the flow, man. I want to do this and this and this. All right, you can do that, that, and that. Well, give me a die roll. Well, that's a lot of stuff that he could do in that amount of because the time doesn't fully matter. So let's get into that a little bit. Combat encounters are divided into rounds. Each round can represent a very short amount of time, 10 to 20 seconds, to longer stretches, 1 to 2 minutes, depending on the encounter. Regardless, each character has 1 turn per combat round. During a character's turn, he has a number of options, usually in the form of different actions he can perform. Well, I could only take 1 shot, but he could do 3 different things. Well, because assume your shot was like the dude's running around trying. You're like, get over there. Finally, bam! You finally had the moment where you had decent enough aim to fire. That's just, I'm not saying that's what this game's saying. I'm just saying, think of it like that. Not everything works on the time that you think it does. On his turn, a character can perform any number of free actions and 1 standard action, or 1 free action, 1 restricted action, as we talked about before. So I'm not going to go through all this. After all player characters, now this is important. After all player characters, I guess maybe it says it later, or I missed it. But player characters go before Game Master characters. There's no initiative roll.
Really?
Player characters go first.
Well, how do you decide which player character gets to go first and what order they're in?
They just, let's great segue. Each round, the players agree on the order in which the characters will take their turns.
Oh God, you have to trust players to agree on something? Red flag right there.
After all player characters have acted, each of the GM-controlled characters take their turns in whichever order the GM chooses. So, yeah, you guys figure it out. But what's cool is because I'll show you. The GM has the opportunity to interrupt the player character's turns. Not terms. This isn't a contract. Turns. In order to allow a GM-controlled character to take its turn earlier. The GM spends dark symmetry points. That's, again, if you don't remember, that's similar to the player's momentum and chronicle points. From his pool to trigger NPCs. The more powerful the NPC, the more dark symmetry points may be required to interrupt players' turns. Now, you might think that's backward. Like, whoa. Wouldn't a more powerful character be cheaper to go first?
Yeah, it's easier for a more powerful bad guy to insert himself into your turn because he's more powerful.
It's all about the heroism of the players, or the characters. In order for you to have your evil baddie go first, your big bad at the end go first, that's how you run your games, you've got to spend a few more points because that character already has a ton of abilities that are going to mash those players up characters, not players, up pretty badly. So if you want that to go first, you're going to have to do a few more points. I think of it as a leash. It's probably a bad analogy, but I think of it as a leash. It's easy to leash a goblin. Get in here, go. It's not so easy to leash that Balrog. Get in the fight, you dick. I have to throw more sandwiches out for him. More Reese's Reese's Pieces for ET, right?
Sure.
So
Elliot. That's scary, man. When I was a kid, I thought that was scary as hell, but that's just me. Anyway, never mind.
If players spend too much time discussing action rather than acting, the GM may wish to warn the players that an action may lead to empowering the dark symmetry. I'd have haunting music start or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Or the Jeopardy thing for Final Jeopardy, the song. Yeah.
Oh, I'd rather go something like Friday the 13th.
Oh, there you go.
Guys, just go. Anyway, if players continue to take too long or argue amongst themselves, because Heathen Dog, that's how he views all players.
Yep.
They're just roaches crawling all over each other. I want to go.
It's what they do, man.
The GM adds 1 dark symmetry to his pool.
Oh, God.
The sight of a growing dark symmetry pool should spur them into action.
No, they're too stupid. players are generally dumb. They'll just, no, we need the perfect plan of attack. Here I've got like 5 dark symmetry points built up because they're trying to get their perfect plan of attack. I've got so much dark symmetry that their perfect plan does not have a chance of working. They would actually they'd be better off if they started with their first plan, which was a bad plan. At least there's a chance of working because I have no dark symmetry points. And I'm going to punish them for it. Don't think I won't.
Heard it from him first. How many hate comments am I going to get? Hold on.
Lots. Like and subscribe to give me your hate.
All right. Sometimes one group of characters may try to surprise or ambush the other group. If one group has sufficient time to hide or set up an ambush, its success is based on an opposed roll. I read that completely without the punctuation there, but who cares? The group attempting the ambush designates a leader who makes a stealth skill test. The group reacting to the surprise designates a leader who makes an observation skill test.
Okay. No, this is nice. I like this because it gives a mechanic to the idea of having someone run point. You have the guy running point who has the highest observation ability, and he's doing his job. And not only is it cinematic, but it's also mechanical. I like that.
Very similar. Again, I bet you Free League, I don't want to say copied it, but was inspired by this because it's very similar to the way it works in the Year Zero engine games, which we'll be talking about towards the end of the year. If the ambushing group generates more successes than its intended targets, the ambush is a success. Makes sense, right? I won my roll. You still didn't get the ambush.
There's 5 of them. You only got 4 successes. Sorry, buddy. One of them was like, hey, what's that? And it ruined it for everybody.
Each character in the ambushing group gains a bonus D20 on his action for the turn.
Wow.
So if you're set up your position and they're into your way and you're like, fire! You get an extra D20 on that.
Nice.
If the ambush failed, the group that noticed the ambush may perform their actions for the round before the failed ambushers. Okay. And next page. All right. Anything we want to talk about up to this point before we get into combat actions from chat? No?
Let's look at some star chat. Yeah. Okay. There's going to be a lot of crafty. There's going to be a lot of momentum. Calm down. Let's push through. Okay. I'll read them.
Okay.
The Conan combat chapter is not much better. Modiphius likes sending you all over the books to find information. The books can use sidebars with page numbers to reference rules. Yes. It's got the Palladium sickness when it comes to format and rules.
At least in this chapter, and I noticed that when I was reading through it this week. Yeah.
All right, next one. 2D20 is pulp action. It is Fifth Element. It is Running Man. It is Flash Gordon. I love that movie. It is Highlander. Oh, even better. This is a huge obstacle for players coming from a more tactical / war game like D20. Yes, you have to understand. It's not quite as storyteller cinematic as the old World of Darkness was, but it is there. You can sense it. It's more about creating a sense of urgency, about creating dread or creating a feeling of happiness rather than just going through the mechanics. The mechanics are how you get to a good story, apparently, in this book. You use the mechanics to tell a cinematic tale of combat rather than just black and white by the numbers.
Yeah, I generally like how the game plays. Like I said, my quibble or my complaint about momentum and so forth, I talked about that last week, is really just one facet. So far, everything else I like.
Okay, let's go to the next one. So they're just combining segments and combat rounds. I don't know what that was from.
Well, I mean, if you're talking like second edition AD&D segments, I no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, really, if you want to see it,
there's no initiative.
Yeah, so it's just you go when you want, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. Well, I mean, it does. It matters. You can't do a 20-minute action.
Dark symmetry, baby.
And expect nobody to do any, to be able to move. No, you don't get to shoot. I got 20 minutes. No, but I think it's just I declare what I want to do. I attempt to do it. I roll the dice. Now, but Heathen Dog wanted to go first. Well, too bad. I rolled my dice. I don't know.
All right. Or double segments and full combat. Again, I forgot that's my fault. I forgot what it was based on. Okay, here's more crafty. Oh, here's some momentum. Players who have learned how to use momentum will choose players who can generate momentum first. That seems like cheating. Then combat characters second, using the momentum generated by the non-combat PCs. Okay, now he goes on to saying the point guy can generate momentum from that automatic roll detecting ambush. If he succeeds enough, he will gain momentum for everyone in the following combat that is about to ensue, which makes sense because I'm thinking of Predator. You know, the Native American guy. If he stops and he does the whole thing where there's some dirt and sniffs the wind and looks at tree bark and says, "Oh no, there's 5 guys right there pointing. I can feel
There's
it.
something out there.
The spirits are telling me." Everyone's like, "Yeah, we got spirits on our side," and so they're better at fighting. That's the way I see it.
Okay. Was that it?
That was it.
Okay. Now we go to combat actions. There are 4. Okay, the 4 main types of actions we talked about in the last video is, so we'll just go into free actions. During your turn, character can perform one or more of the following free actions. A character cannot perform the same free action more than once during his turn. Apparently that was an issue.
What? I can't press a button several times? Screw you, game.
Apparently not. You can hold it down, but you can't. It's not the same. Ooh, would that constitute the same action? All right, but subject to GM's approval, may take as many free actions as he wishes. Free actions can be taken both before and after a standard action, but all intended actions should be stipulated before any dice are rolled. Generally, any given free action can be performed once per turn, but the final decision as to whether any combination of actions is achievable rests with the GM. Okay, I like that paragraph.
Yep. Always got to have that caveat in there. Just to make sure the players know their place.
You can adjust your stance. I don't like the term.
Why? What does it do?
The character can move to any point within close range of his current position.
Okay, that's not adjusting stance. That's actually changing location.
Right.
You know, that's what that is. It's close, sure. It's a close change in location, but still, that's change location. Adjusting stance, I would say, is a difference between kneeling and prone. I would get that. Difference between kneeling and standing. I would get that.
Yeah.
Ducking behind cover that's right there in front of you. I could see that. But actually moving from one location to another, no matter how far away it is, that's not adjusting stance. That's a close move.
Yeah. I had to read this one a couple of times. Like, wait, am I missing? Oh, okay. It's just a bad title. All right. You can drop an item. Now, by the way, these are free. These are free actions, so this doesn't count against you, right?
Yeah, it doesn't count. Right.
Drop an item. The character opens one or more hands that hold an item. I get it. You got to fill up a little space here. How else do you drop an item?
Yeah, I know. Well, no, they have to say item falls to his feet because anything else would be a throw. So I get the second sentence, but the first one, yeah, it's filler.
Fall prone. The character drops to the ground, reducing his ranged combat target silhouette. When prone, a character can only move by crawling. Character cannot fall prone in the same turn he stands up. That makes sense.
Hey, you know what? I've done burpees before. Yes, you can.
Well, not with 150 pounds worth of armor and backpack and.
Hey, you know what? Army and Marine have done burpees with full 50-pound combat gear. So screw you, game. Yes, you
there
can.
You go. Simulation is.
There it is. There it is. Simulation versus cinematic.
A character may talk to nearby allies. Allies? What the hell was I trying to say? A character may talk to nearby allies. Scream a war cry. Shout an order. Threaten a political opponent. Again, guess that happened. Or otherwise converse with few sentences or phrases that do not require a skill test. Okay. Basically, you're not trying to convince anybody of anything. You're just saying, hey, go over there. I don't want to. Crap, now I have to roll. You just took up an action, dick. Stand up. Character is previously in a prone position. He may stand up. A character cannot stand up in the same turn he falls prone.
Again, lies. Serious lies.
Restricted actions. Now, these are the ones that don't require dice rolls, remember, but have a little bit of focus.
Right.
Unjam. If a weapon is jammed, the character can use this action to clear the jam. Notice you don't have to make a roll to make it happen. And to be fair, in most cases, when your weapon jams in real life and you're trained with the weapon, you don't have to make a roll to unjam it.
You just go through the 3 to 5 steps to unjam your weapon, and you do it.
Right. Movement. A character can move anywhere within medium range. Now, somebody out there might be saying, what is this close range? What is this medium range?
Yeah.
There will be a part in here where it gives units of measurement if you want to use them. But honestly, it really depends on on the setting that you're in, the environmental setting, not the universal setting, right?
Right. Like
If you're
for example, if you're in the middle of an empty football field,
Mhm.
you can get somewhere faster than if you were, say, in the middle of a rock quarry.
Yeah.
You can traverse the terrain faster on a flat football field than you can in a craggy pit. So things that are close on a football field may be medium or long, depending on the terrain.
Do you remember when I went through that Coriolis example and I started off and I did it like as in the Star Wars, like the beginning of Star Wars episode 4 when the stormtroopers blow through the door?
Yep.
That one area just in that hallway is one range. And I forget what this game calls it. I have too many words. That might be close. Yeah, because I think it's short in Forbidden Lands, whatever. But that would be one range category. People around, that would be medium. And beyond. And like you said, a football field, on the other hand, is 100 yards. I don't know if I would consider that short. I think that would bust into medium at that point anyway. But
it's a lot easier to traverse. Yeah. It's a lot easier to aim. No one has cover.
Yes.
You know, everything is easier in a flat space, especially with movement.
Yeah. So, but we can see movement and terrain for more information, including difficult terrain. And we will get to that at some point. All right, recover. When a character, and this is an important one, when a character is recovering from a temporary status effect such as bleeding or staggered, he may be able to attempt a resistance test to prematurely end the condition. If anybody watched my character
stop bleeding, that's awesome.
Well, if you remember my character creation video, if anybody watched that, that character got a bonus to resistance just by being where he was born. Rough neighborhood, man.
Yeah, there you go. Got to get a thick skin.
If the status effect has a specific magnitude, such as burning 3, that is a pet peeve of mine. Pathfinder does the same thing. I hate the numbers after burning. I would rather it be like slightly burned, intensely burned, holy crap, you're going to die burned, than burning 1, burning 2, burning 3. I don't like numbers behind stuff like that. It's, again, personal thing. It's not that it's bad mechanic. I just don't like that terminology. The condition's magnitude becomes the difficulty rating for the resistance test. But see, it makes it easier. I get what you're saying. It just sounds weird to me. Hey, Heathen Dog, you're on fire. 3.
Oh crap! I need to have 3 successes on D20. I gotta. Well, Game Master. I hope you like Dark Symmetry because you're gonna get some.
There you go.
I don't feel like going up like a tiki torch today.
Oh, if the status effect does not have any specific magnitude, it requires a challenge difficulty 2 resistance test. So there's no 1. Weird. If the character passes the test, the status effect ends. Oh,
well, there has to be a talent or something that can
probably
bring down a resistance test. So yeah, probably is.
All right, so those are your what do they call those things? I always forget the name of that. Restricted actions. Now standard actions. Here are the things that you're probably going to be doing most of the time.
Sure.
There are a number of standard actions available. Most combat actions require skill tests such as attacks. All right, we got that, right? Talent or ability. Some special talents and abilities allow a character to perform a second standard action without having to pay the GM any Chronicle points. Because as we talked in Momentum and Chronicle points, you can get another action by spending those points. This is described in the individual talent or ability descriptions. Player may only use one talent or ability that grants an extra standard action each turn.
Okay.
So you don't have vampire celerity here.
Oh man.
I know, right? Chronicle points. A player may spend a Chronicle point to allow his character to perform an additional standard action. When spending a Chronicle point, the player does not have to pay the GM any Dark Symmetry points. So, haha, Mr. Game Master. Not today, pal. And he may choose to perform the same standard action more than once. A player may spend more than one Chronicle point to allow the character to perform multiple extra actions. Now,
okay,
you might be.
So is this the thing that breaks the rule? You can only have one extra standard action unless you throw Chronicle points at
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And but let's be clear. What is it? I already forgot. Is you can have a maximum of 6 Chronicle points?
5 or 6. Yeah.
5 or 6. So if you want to blow through your wad at one point,
you're gonna Rambo full auto the whole platoon of enemy soldiers. There you go. Exactly.
Activate a power. The character can use a special power such as a dark gift, the arts, or a mutation. And we'll be talking about those in a future week.
Okay.
Attack close combat. Okay, you can punch people.
Sure. Makes sense.
Oh, no, there's a part in here I have to read, and I forget where it is. Right. Must declare a target, equipped with a weapon being used, average. Okay. A character engages another with close Okay, once a character engages with another with a close combat attack, they're considered part of melee. Or melee. Once in a melee, a character must use the withdraw action. By the way, again, very similar to folks who play the user engine, to disengage safely from the other combatants. If the target of a close combat attack has not already performed a response action, he may attempt a dodge or parry response action. So now we're getting into Palladium territory, huh?
Mm-hmm.
A character can voluntarily fail this attack and still count as engaged for purposes of blocking a character's free movement.
Oh, I see what it does. Okay. All right. All right. If you're engaged in a melee with an enemy, you and the enemy are your free movement is taken away because you cannot move freely without being countered.
Yeah, it's a contested area.
Right.
That's probably the only reason you'd want to fail being punched in the noodle, though. But yeah. Range attack. Character draws down on and attacks a target at range. Range attacks require an average difficulty 1 range weapon test. So not too bad, right? Modified by range. The target must be within the weapon's effective range or the action's difficulty increases by 1 for every zone outside this effective range. Now, look at that. The target.
F the target. Yeah.
All right. If the target is not visible to the attacker, the difficulty increases by 2 steps. If the test attack succeeds, the attacker moves to the damage step of the combat sequence. I don't like the wording of this. I know it makes sense, but let's just say it. Basically saying, if you hit, roll damage.
Sure.
A character who attempts a range attack while an enemy is within reach increases the difficulty by 1 unless it has the close quarters quality. Now, there are a couple of things about this chapter. I get it on one hand, and on the other hand, it's like you could have done a little better. Do you know what the close quarters means? Do you even know what a close quarters quality is?
No.
Okay. Weapons have qualities.
Okay.
Armor penetration is a possible.
Sure.
Close quarters. A lot of pistols have the close quarters quality, which means that, if we're in fisticuffs, I can without much of a problem.
It can be maneuvered in a small space without penalty. Got it.
Right. A rifle doesn't have that. A quality is, a lot of times it's a roll you have to make in order to activate it, but it's just a feature of the weapon. So now we know. Oh, excuse me. And it is identified in the weapon, by the way. You will see it there. It's not like you have to guess. Some ranged weapons have different qualities that can inflict status effects, deal additional damage, or allow an attack to strike multiple targets. If the target of a ranged attack has not already performed a response action, he may attempt a dodge response action as long as he is aware of the attacker and has the necessary room to avoid the attack. I like that little addendum right there.
Has necessary room to avoid the attack. Right.
Because otherwise, it says I can dodge any attack. Dude, you're standing in a box. You're in a, what's that thing called?
You are literally a fish in that barrel.
Yeah, you're an Iron Maiden, a fish in a barrel. But it says I can dodge.
Well, this says you can't.
Brace. Certain weapons are described as unwieldy, such as heavy machine guns. This allows you to brace and let me read it because it actually talks about repercussions. I forgot about that. An attack with an unwieldy weapon increases the difficulty rating for the attack by 2 ranks.
Oh, that's a lot.
1 to 3. Well, you're trying to do the old Jesse the Body, those guns.
Gun,
yeah,
to take away a forest. Who needs Agent Orange when you got 1,000 rounds?
Right, of Jesse the Body, right?
Yep.
And its repercussion range is increased by 1 step from 20 to 19 or more if you have Doom or Dread, right?
Yeah, or depending on the starting repercussion range, right? It's just 1 more step.
Right. And for they're suffering from dread. When a character performs a brace action, the difficulty and unreliable penalties are removed from future actions with the wielded gun. Why? Because this is a standard action. You are using your standard action to brace.
Okay.
I hate to say this, but I really feel like this should have been under the restricted action.
Really should. Yeah.
Because it's not a die roll, but it is something you have to focus on.
And it's something, if you're trained in the weapon, you are trained to do. So you don't have to really think about it that much. It's just something you do. And you don't have to roll for it because you're not resisting anything. You're just bracing yourself, getting ready to fire. You haven't actually fired yet. So yeah, this should be a restricted action. I agree.
Once a character performs brace action, he is considered braced until he moves from their location. or changes what is being held in his hands. Coup de grace. Coup de grace. If he has a ranged or close combat weapon equipped, a character can deliver a killing blow to an adjacent, within melee range, helpless, unconscious, or critically wounded target. I hate this rule, but I know, let me rephrase it. I hate that this rule has to be written. But I remember being in Dungeons & Dragons games. Okay, roll your D4 for your dagger. He's sleeping. Dagger does a D4. I hate you and your entire family for allowing you to live. So it's that kind of stuff that makes rules like this have to exist. But the GM may deem that some targets require a skill test. You know, you could be talking something heavily armored, that it isn't just easy to walk up like, where the hell do I poke this thing? You know, there could be other reasons for it as well. But generally speaking, yes, if you know somebody's sleeping over there, you can go pokey pokey and it's dead. Draw or use an item. Using a free hand, the character may pick up a nearby item, draw a weapon being carried on his person, or stowed in his gear. If the item is already in hand, the character can use it with this action. Some items, like auto meds, can take effect as soon as they're drawn, allowing a character to draw and use the item with only one standard action. You know, it's a proverbial impact, right?
Right.
So,
and I'm absolutely certain there's some kind of talent for quick draw that allows you to draw and shoot in the same round. I'm sure there is.
Maybe. Squeak, squeak. All right, exploit weakness. Apparently, this is one of those I have to cover. It was demanded.
Okay.
A character takes extra time readying his next close combat or ranged attack to further increase his odds of hitting and potentially inflict more damage. All right. So it's like aim shot. Or
fainting.
Fainting? Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Throw out a feint to move your this close combat, right? So you throw out a feint to make your enemy move in a certain way that you can take advantage of. It's kind of like that. It seems like
I see this as a spot armor flaw from Earth Dawn. Biggest Geekus. Welcome to Biggest Geekus is our newest sentient. Well, thank you very much, sir. That's awesome. By the way, if you guys have not checked out Big Geek Emporium, you really need to do that. It is a competitor. It is the driving force out there. No, it's not. It's a new service out there if you like drive-through RPG. Which you know, it doesn't have the titles yet that drive-through RPG has, but the artists or the publishers, whatever, not the publishers, the developers keep more of the income. Big Geek Emporium takes just a little tiny amount. Actually, I think he turned that off for now, but even before then, just a little tiny amount. And it's got a lot of great creators on there. So check out Big Geek Emporium. Character takes extra time readying his next close action. Where was it? So here we go. If the character performs a close combat attack or ranged attack when the previous action was to exploit weakness, the character adds 2 d20 to the attack skill test.
That is highly effective.
So just for a second, how many dice do you normally roll?
2d20.
Now how many are you rolling?
4d20.
Bam!
That is, highly effective.
If the attack succeeds, the attack inflicts an extra 2, we'll just call it d6 for now, extra damage. And this is the other flaw with the chapter that really irked me.
What's that? There
is a little blurb at the beginning of the book, and we did cover it in our first episode, that talks about what does squiggly 2 mean. It's 2 dark symmetry dice. Right now, before this was even, this would have been a great point to mention what the hell this does.
Sure.
Basically, it's rolling an extra 2d6. And let me quickly tell you how that's done. If you roll a 1 on the d6, you do 1 point of damage. If you roll a 2 on the 2d6, you do 2 points of damage. If you roll a 3, 4, or 5, you don't do squat. And if you roll a 6, you activate one of those qualities.
Armor piercing, whatever. Yeah, got it.
Right. This is cumulative with any bonus dice from fully automatic weapons to an absolute maximum of 3d20. Wait, what?
Yeah, that didn't make sense to me. I thought we were talking about damage, and we already got 4d20 out of the first half of that paragraph. Now, for fully automatic weapons, you get a maximum of 3d20. Maybe it's a thing for fully automatic weapons because they do so much damn damage that having more than 3d20 would make them just unbalanced.
I had to read this paragraph a couple of times. And so when Crafty said you have to talk about this, I was kind of like, because I'm still not sure I fully grasp this. But in looking back, you get the 2d20 for your normal die roll.
Sure.
You get a 2d20 from
If you
this.
exploited weakness the round prior.
But it says you have an absolute maximum of 3d20. That doesn't
For automatic
add up.
weapons.
Right. That is what I didn't catch the first time. I was like, how is 2d20 plus 2d20 3d20? Like, what kind of crazy woke math is this? That doesn't add up in my head. And you're right. It's because it isn't clear. This action can also be used to represent attempts to ambush, whether an intent to knock out an opponent or dispatch. I'm sorry. Whether with an intent to knock out an opponent or dispatch more quietly. The GM may allow. See, now you change pronouns up on me. At his discretion, successful stealth test to trigger a free exploit weakness action. So
GMs may allow at their discretion successful stealth test to trigger a free exploit.
Remember when we covered
that is
stuff?
nice. I like that. Like if you're hidden in a tree and you're already braced and ready to shoot someone walking down that path, someone walks on that path. If they don't see you, you get an automatic exploit weakness on them, which means you're rolling 4d6 and getting 2d6 extra die to roll for damage.
And you remember when we talked about we looked at stealth, right?
Yeah.
When we went over and it said in there a lot of the momentum features there are carried over to other skills. And this is one of those times where I absolutely say, yes, this is a perfect example of momentum carrying over to another skill properly. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, and Crafty put in chat there, yes, the maximum you could ever roll. I think we covered this. Oh, did you previously? But just so for people's edification,
5d20, no matter what, is the maximum you can get. But I can buy more. I've got all this momentum. No, shut up, dude. 5d20. That's it. That's your hard cap.
You can pass. You can do nothing. All right. Ready action.
Wait, pass is an action? No. Just like 0 is not a number game. The lack of an action is not an action. You gonna make me call Cthulhu Law? Don't.
Still uses the character standard action for the turn.
Bullshit. It's not an action.
The character may declare is it an action or is it not an action? Let us know in the comments. And timestamp it because I'm not going to remember to ask that question.
There you go.
The character may declare he is waiting. Now we're back to he again. The character may declare he is waiting for a certain condition or event. I like to liken this to Overwatch. Holding an action, readying an action, Overwatch, whatever. When the triggering condition occurs, the character with the readied action temporarily interrupts the acting character's turn to resolve the readied action. So, I'm here. I'm waiting my Overwatch position. I'm on the roof. I'm waiting for Heathen Dog because, dang it, he keeps coming over and putting poop on my step. So I'm like, when he comes around that corner, he's bebopping. He's like, hey, I'm going to come around the corner and I'm going to throw a bag of poop on Max's step. And I'm be like, what the hell, man? This time when he comes around the corner, he doesn't get to throw it because I shoot him.
Yep.
So my readied action stops his action. I get to do mine. I basically interrupted his flow.
And if you're like, well, what if two people have readied actions? Then no one's going to go because readied actions have to be triggered. And if two people, the only people involved in a fight, are both readying an action, none of them is going. The other one is not going to create the trigger situation. So no one will do anything.
I'm readying my action for when he readies his action.
That doesn't work.
All right. Once the readied action is resolved, the acting character continues his turn as normal, probably laying on the ground, bleeding through a hole I just put through his head because he's going to throw poop on my step.
Holding a bag of poop.
If the triggering condition does not occur before the character's next turn, the readied action is lost.
Basically, you spend all your time waiting.
Yeah, exactly. Characters with a readied action can still make restricted and free actions as normal. Why? Because they're restricted and free actions. I mean, it's in the name, right? Examples of readied actions include firing at a necromutant. Okay, that's like a double whammy. Not only is it a mutant, but it's a necromutant. It's a dead. That's gross.
Yeah,
when he stands, go ahead.
Your dating life is probably really bad.
Yeah, right. When he stands up from, there's somebody for everybody. Anyway, when he's standing up from behind cover. So yeah, like, it's kind of the same thing we were talking about there. The necromutant's like, I'm gonna stick my head up. Oh, right. Look, man, weirdos need to get got. Shake it off. The character may spend a dark symmetry point to attempt a willpower test to push past the pain of physical or mental wounds. On a successful willpower test, a character can recover 1 light wound box, and we will talk about damage after this chapter, from the hit location of his choice, or 1 mental wound box. I'm actually interested to know what you think about how damage works in this game.
Okay.
I'm still coin flipping on it. Part of me loves it. The other part of me is like, But we'll get there when we get there. A character can recover 1 additional light or mental wound box for each momentum spent from the test.
Already, I see this as an issue.
Why is that?
Because is everyone magic? Is that what you're saying? Like, I can will my wounds to close?
So which we'll talk about when we get to the wound section, damage section. There are 3 types of wounds: light wounds, serious wounds, critical wounds.
Okay.
This specifically says light wounds. Bumps, scrapes, whatever. You put some Neosporin on it and you're moving on. It's SDC versus the hit points of the other ones. Right. The difficulty of the willpower test is based on the severity of the character's wounds. If a character is only suffering from light wounds, it's an average D1. And this is I like this. I like this effect. If the character is suffering from serious wounds, it's a D2 willpower test. Mind you, you're still only curing the light. But because you actually have some real damage going on in there, it's higher. And if the character is critically wounded, it's a daunting difficulty 3 willpower test. Even though, again, you're only healing the light wounds, but because you've decided to get shot in the lungs a couple of times, those bumps and scrapes aren't healing so quickly. Or your mental trauma as your brain foogled isn't going away so much because, you're sucking through only your left lung. Sprint. Character may move to any point in any zone within long range.
So close, medium, long.
Yes, there's also extreme, but that's more of an optional range, and I think we'll get to that in a little bit.
Okay.
So if you just want to bust ass and go, and you're just running, you can do it. Sprinting through difficult or hazardous terrain increases the difficulty of terrain tests by 1 step. It's because, that stick you didn't see, it was pointing up this way, and you decided to put it put it through your foot, or it grabbed your toe and you fell down. If the test fails, the character either counts as having taken a movement action, or at the GM's, God, I love where this is going, right? Preference, faces a complication such as tripping, making too much noise, or not. Notice it didn't say I had to spend a dark symmetry.
No.
It just says, at the GM's preference.
Yep.
Faces a complication such as tripping, making too much noise, or not being in cover at the end of his action. Ranged attacks made against a character who is sprinting, by using a ready to action, for example, have the difficulty rating increased by 1 step. So, that's the, serpentine, right? So, withdraw. It's another one of those action types that even in the Year Zero engine, I use it because it's core to the game, but makes me feel ways about things. A character may safely leave a melee engagement using the withdraw action.
Sure.
If a character and his allies in the melee engagement outnumber the opposition, withdraw can be performed as a free action, so no roll. Basically, your buddies get in the middle. It's like that was that old Star Trek one where she's trying to touch him and they keep changing positions. Yeah. I am for you. So there you go. Since there's more of them than there were of her, it was a free action. They just kept making circles. The character remains in the same zone, so that means you're still close, you're still medium, you're still long, but is no longer within reach of any character in that melee. So reach is actually another range category.
Well, it's a range qualifier.
It's 2 meters.
You can be close range, but you can also be close and within reach.
Hungar the Starvarian, thank you very much, sir. He is welcome to being a Centurion. You've been a Centurion. Yeah, you got the little icon. He's upped his Centurion status. Mm-hmm. Oh, it doesn't show the icon on StreamYard.
No.
Ooh. But thank you, Hungar. You guys have not bought Hungar's shirt yet. Can you put his icon back up there?
Oh, sure.
You can get a shirt with that picture. You know you want it. You know you want that shirt from... I don't have his link, though. He'll have to give me his link again. We'll put it in chat. I'll put it in the description or something. You want that. You want Hungar's shirt. Need Hungar's shirt.
And you want it in pink.
And you, like my wife, you want it in pink.
Yep.
All right. All right, if a character attempts to leave a melee engagement, get over here, mouse, with a movement or sprint action, he must make an opposed average, difficulty 1, close combat skill test against the most skilled enemy combatant in the melee engagement. If the skill... I knew this was coming. There you go, the Hunga shirt
There it is.
in all its glory.
Is he pooping out gold or are those rocks?
No, that's a woman.
Is she pooping out gold or are those rocks? Oh, that's a woman. Oh, okay. Got it. All right, that's even
Thank
better.
you, dear. So, if the skill test succeeds, I safely left the melee engagement. The reason why this makes me feel ways about things isn't because I think it's a bad idea. It's because I've seen too many back and forths like, really? He just makes a roll and now I can't attack him? Well, he did make an opposed roll. To be fair, he made an opposed roll.
The problem I have with it, if a character attempts to leave a melee engagement with a movement or sprint action, he must make an opposed average close combat skill test against the most skilled enemy combatant in the melee. I have a problem with that. Because if you're in a like a skirmish melee where you've got 3 people in the same general close area, all of them attacking each other, why do I have to make a roll against the best combatant of the enemies when he's not the person I'm actively fighting right now? He's actively fighting somebody else. Why do I have to roll against him? I should roll against the person that's actively fighting me.
See, I think that's a very valid argument. My only counter to it is that combat is a scrum. And I understand that when we're playing RPGs, a lot of times there are miniatures out there. It's like, I'm attacking him, he's attacking me. Like, in that regard, I think you're right. But when you have, and I'm doing this just for visual sake, I'm not saying this is how you do your game. If you have like 3 guys in a row here and 4 guys in a row there, they're all kind of attack. Like, oh, I got a weakness over there. It's not just the guy in front of you. It's not like a Roman legions, with their shields locked.
Fair enough.
But I do hear what you're saying, and that is a question that I have as well. I think it depends on how it's set up.
Okay, in my opinion, I would change this rule, and I would say to disengage from a melee, you have to make a resisted test against the last person that attacked you in the enemy group.
Or
that's
closest.
The one who is currently threatening you.
Yeah, either that or the closest. Yeah, but I get it. But the thing is sometimes when because I know how you run your games, when we look at fights, we'll have 2 or 3 people fighting over here, another 2 or 3 people fighting over here. Well, you're technically within that close combat range, right?
But you're not within reach close combat of each other, so you're not technically in the same melee scrum.
Right. Yeah. And that actually, so I mean, in melee engagement, well, you know what? Reach in order to be in melee engagement, you have to be in reach.
Yes.
So now when I think about it, I think I agree with this rule because it reminds me of the harried rule from Earth Dawn. That's one of those that I have to play out. I understand what Heathen Dog's saying. I think he's going in the right track. I just don't know if that's how it's visualized. Because I have my ultimate terrain, which works perfect for this game, version 2. I would have to see how it plays out. But let's move along here. Response actions. Response actions do not occur during a character's turn. We already read that, right? Like in the other.
Yes, response actions don't occur on your timetable. You're responding to somebody else's action, which occurs on their turn.
Yeah, and a prone character, a character's movement is otherwise restricted, cannot perform response actions. Okay. It requires so performing a response action requires a bit of additional effort. This is the fun part. I keep thinking I'm going to skip some of these, and then I remember that there's a paragraph in here I have to read.
Okay.
When a player chooses to perform a response action, he must pay 1 dark symmetry point to the dark symmetry pool. So when you want to dodge, when you want to parry, you have to pay a dark symmetry point. Likewise, when the GM chooses to perform a response action, scroll up here. Oh, nope, guess not. Come back down for that one. The carry, he must spend 1 dark symmetry point from the dark symmetry pool.
Okay, see, I wish it hinted at this earlier when it spoke about these types of actions, because now it feels like you bait and switch me on this one.
I don't like this, but this is because I'm jaded by the Free League version. And when I say the Free League version, somebody's being Ninja Zero doesn't do it right. Coriolis is what I'm specifically talking about. In Coriolis, the players have these abilities available to them. Just declare. The Game Master does not. The Game Master has to spend what this game they call Dark Symmetry, and that game is called the Darkness Between the Stars. Or I'm sorry, yeah, it's a Darkness Points, whatever it is. But we'll say Dark Symmetry because we're talking about this game. So that kind of gives that player that level of heroism. If you want to dodge, if you want to do this extra thing that you're not normally allowed to do, go for it. Because you're partially the hero of the story. If for me to do it as the Game Master with my minions out here,
you must spend.
I have to spend a point. I prefer that methodology better. But I'm sure there's a reason for this. And I'm sure Crafty's going to put it in the chat.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I wish they hinted at this mechanic when they originally described it, because now, like I said, it feels like I'm getting cheated now.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying, because when we first read it in actions, it wasn't there.
Didn't talk anything about having to spend anything, give Dark Symmetry points to anyone. Didn't even hint at it.
And this goes back to the Palladium problem. Hey, I found the rule.
Yeah, it's somewhere else.
No, you did. No, you didn't. I found the rule. So, covering fire, character players supporting another character with covering fire. I'm going to start to speed through some of these because we have other sections to get to. I think a lot of you folks, you can see it's on the screen, and you're going to know that you have a lot of options available to your character. In fact, I do want to scroll back a page and quickly look at these possible complications. So for a close attack, you can overextend. You can be disarmed. For a range attack, weapon can jam. You can fumble or misfire. You can be exposed. Oh, you have no cover. Ammunition. You lost. Yep. So, for shake it off, that's your recovery. Mm-hmm. It's your recovery test, huh? Worse than it looked. Debilitated. Oh no, I'm bleeding.
No. Worse than it looked is, oh god, I'm bleeding. Debilitated is like, oh my god, where'd my leg go?
Well, I was doing panic for that one, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you're right. Yeah, and then for sprint, stumble, noisy, exposed, and of course you can come up with more. But there are some options that I wanted to show.
Exposed would be my aforementioned running through a football field. Yeah, it's faster to get from one place to the other, but the entire way you're under zero cover and it's extremely easy to shoot you. Whereas if you're in a quarry, sure, your full sprint is not going to get you as far, but that rocky terrain does not immediately make you exposed. I would say it like that.
Okay. Makes sense to me. Here you dodge and parry. I left them on the screen for a little bit. They're not hard to read. I've got them really big. You can read them. Defense actions and ties. Parry and dodge, always just understand the way this game works. Ties go to the players. Here you go. Retaliate, dual wielding.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. I'm going to read the second paragraph, not the first paragraph.
John Woo this bitch. No, we're going to find out what happens.
Okay. Actually, I will read the first paragraph because I see a number in it. Character who attempts to wield two weapons at once may use either weapon to make an attack, and may use the swift strike momentum spend, allowing a second action at +1 difficulty. So now you need 2 successes at least for 1 momentum instead of the usual 2. So so long as any second attack is made with the other weapon. So it's 1 momentum to go boom, boom. It's 2 momentum to go boom, boom. All right. Okay. A character may attempt to dual wield with a pair of melee weapons, a pair of ranged weapons, or one of each, so long as he can wield those weapons in one hand. Obviously, if you're not taking 2 miniguns.
Right. A dagger and a handgun.
Yeah.
Sure.
Witch Hunter. There you go. You're a Witch Hunter from Warhammer. A sufficiently strong character could wade into battle with an assault rifle in each hand, but he's unlikely to be particularly accurate with them.
Oh, fair.
Let me tell you my story of trying to do that when I was in... All right, combat momentum. Are we at a stopping point to read chat yet? I think we are.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think we're at it.
All right, let's look at it.
Heathendog has it.
This is me. This is me. He's really happy. I'm apparently my initial take on these rules is correct. I'm awesome.
If I had one of my animations, where can I put a little explosion behind you?
There you go. Am I going to heaven? I'm already there.
It's because he gets to work with me.
Exactly. Zones in MC3 are close, medium, long, and extreme. Close is right around. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we got it. And biggest
Oh,
hello,
the last
hello.
one.
Yeah, I just had to put that up. That was funny.
Uh,
All right, I like that. So sick of players claiming they can dodge a fireball in a 10-foot room. Yes, if your movement is restricted by environment or situation, dodging is stupid. You can't do it because you literally can't get out of the way.
and
like that.
as people have heard me say forever, it's one of the reasons why I don't like grid-based games is because I hate the concept that the fireball ends at the tip of my nose.
Right.
Ah, see, I didn't get hit. It stopped right there.
You have discovered the weakness in Modiphius' writing. Discussing mechanics as if you already read it and know what it is, and then reality, the mechanic is explained later. Yes, that we were talking about that with the whole reaction type thing where, before it sounded like it was a free thing. If someone attacked you, you get one free action, and no, you got to spend. Well, that comes far later. Why? Well, there you go. Palladium is bleeding into everything. All right. God damn, Heathen Dog, you're on fire. That's right. Yes.
See, I will. Maybe I'll have to actually edit this video and give you an explosion.
Maximum number of d20s you can roll is 5.
Yeah.
Thank you. In any combination, bonuses from exploit, momentum spend, or DS point buys, you can't get great than 5.
And if I wasn't clear about that
if
earlier,
you allow
then
me to spend, well, I'm not going to because 5 is your hard limit. Shut the hell up.
Yep.
Combine exploit actions with Chronicle points. Purchase a second action so you can exploit and then attack immediately. That is one way to do it. Use your regular action to exploit, and then you buy a second action with Chronicle points to immediately get that plus 2 d20 and plus 2 damage dice in that same round.
While I find that it does allow for heroic play, this is the gamification that I don't like, if that makes sense.
No, it seems like an exploit. So yeah, okay, I did that. So yeah, because in your first action you could take out the head guy just in one shot.
No, that part doesn't bother me. The ability to do that is almost what I'm talking about is like his specific wording that's on the screen there. It seems calculated.
Yes.
I'm going to calculate that if I use this point before this other point, I can do these things and then add this other point on here. I don't like that kind of gamification in my RPGs. Which is why I go back and saying I like the Free League version of it. Did you get extra successes? Yeah. How do you want to deal with those extra successes right now? I don't have to think about that they're going to be used later, or it's going to twist into something new and different. And like, no. You got extra successes. What did those do? These things? Great. Good job. You shot the big bad guy in the eyeball. He's dead. You all win the prize. Doesn't do anything else other than, you knocked him down because you're going to go up there and you're going to Lilliputian him? That's fine. I don't do your thing. But I don't like this. Hold on. I could spend this first and then that, then spend these other points. No, get that out of my game. That is my only issue with momentum and Chronicle points.
Okay. I think the reason they have these types of force multipliers is to get people to spend their Chronicle and momentum points.
Yeah. Yep.
Get them to spend it. Keep them low.
Crafty talks about that all the time.
Yeah. To, get them to try and get more. Always trying to get more. It's a dragon you'll chase, but you'll never catch.
Well, he actually said a few times that one of the things is you want the players to spend those points. Not because you get as the game master, but as they're spending the points, you're getting yours, but you're also spending yours during the fights as well. Mm-hmm. You're not stockpiling them. And I'm like, really? But him and I think Omen Owls mentioned as well is that's one of the issues in the game is when new players stockpile all this stuff and then all of a sudden it's like, bleh! And the game master's like, oh, really? Bleh! And, it went from it's soldier versus demon to David versus Goliath type stuff. Or I don't know anime, but Super Saiyan, right? Like all in one move. It's like, you thought you were strong, but oh, your planet's gone. Obviously, I'm exaggerating for effect, but you guys get it. Okay. Momentum is a key strategic resource in Mutant Chronicles. Wow, did we segue this on purpose?
It's great.
With a wide variety. We're told you were. When a
Burning
character
3?
generates more successes than necessary to pass a combat-related skill test, this is like everyone. If you get more successes, you get. But let's see how we can spend these points. Okay.
Oh, it's too small.
Because is it too small?
Yeah. One
Can-
notch higher.
How about this? Screw everybody.
Okay.
Because if I go one notch higher, then I get that.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Those are my notches. Hold on. Maybe can I do that? Oh, there we go. I can do it. I can just click the button way. Oh, that broke it. Yep, that broke it. We gotta go back down one. All right, 250. We'll stay at 250. So this is how you can spend your momentum. Is this an exhaustive list? Probably not, but it's probably going to cover most of the things you want to do. Bonus damage. You can spend 1 or more momentum points to increase damage. Called shot. For each momentum spent, the character may adjust the hit location. Yes, there are hit locations in this game. You can take that, turn it to an adjacent face. You can't flip it all the way over, but you
Called
can.
shot for the hoo-ha.
There you go. You can spend a point to defend. Character may designate a target within reach, including himself. The next attack against that target this round becomes more difficult by 1 rank. I like that.
Yeah, they actually explained defend earlier. You kind of passed by it, but if you can defend yourself, I'd say that's more of a defensive stance. But you can get in front of somebody else's bullet to make it harder to hit them. But I wasn't able to read what it does to you because I imagine you're putting yourself in danger. So there's got to be a downside to that.
If I remember correctly, you take the damage you take damage, but extra successes then go to the target. If I remember how I read that.
Oh, so you can shoot through the defender into the guy you want to shoot. Okay, all right. Winter Soldier.
Or is it extra attacks go to the? But it was something about extra goes to the original target. But
okay.
I don't want to read everything here. I know I said we're just going to do a deep dive and we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff, but at some point we do have to move on a little bit here. What I want to talk about are some of these are, let's say 2 and 3, right? So devastating blow is 2. That means you need to spend 2 momentum on that.
Minimum.
Yes. Well, in this case, it's just 2.
Oh.
Roll a second hit location for the target. That hit location suffers half the current attack's damage round down. So that means, let's just arbitrarily say you do 6 points of damage. It's kind of high, but we'll go with it. 6 points of damage. You'll do 6 to the first location and 3 if you to another location if you spend these 2 points.
Oh, real world example.
Okay.
You are shot in the torso with an M16, but you decide to spend 2 momentum points for a devastating blow. Now you're still shot, an initial shot in the torso, but it's in the shoulder, which means half the damage goes to that arm. Is that something that like what happened?
Just remember, full damage still went to the chest.
Full damage went to torso, but half of that again went to the arm. Yeah. So 6 and then 3. Because it's close by and it's also damaged in the attack.
Penetration. The damage inflicted by the current attack ignores soak value provided by the armor equal to twice the momentum spent. That's why there's a plus on there. So if you spend 2 momentum, you can ignore 4 soak value of armor.
Okay. And soak value is what? Automatic successes and resistance of some kind?
Yeah. It's basically difficulty. So, all right. Steel nerves, 1 divided by dread. What does this mean? Character recovers from dread a number of points equal to the amount of momentum spent. That's a poorly written sentence, but
yeah, it is awkwardly written. But momentum, 1 momentum equals -1 dread. Got it.
There we go. Okay, those are things you can do. Yeah, let's move on. Characters and zones. These are the ranges. Let's go to this one right here. Well, crap. No, let's read through them.
Oh, reach is its own zone. I thought reach was just also close. I'm sorry. Okay.
It's fine. I mean, I said it. I was right. You know. But anyway, reach, an object or creature is within reach. It was close enough to touch. And we'll get to, I like, for what I do, I like to say it's 3 meters, 10 feet. This game does the 2 meter, 5 feet thing. The reason I say that is because pole arms actually have a pretty decent reach. And when people are in melee, they move a little bit. Semantic thing, pedantic thing, it's a personal preference again. It's not that the game does anything wrong. Most games say 2 meters. Close, an object or creature is close if it's in the same zone. An object or creature is at medium range if it's in an adjacent zone. You're probably like, what are these zones, man? We'll get to that. An object or creature Here we go. Let's zoom in a little bit. An object or creature is at long range if it's 2 or more zones away from your current zone, and extreme is a special case not normally used in most situations. 3 or more zones away. Less abstract ranges. We acknowledge that some groups may prefer concrete values for weapons and movement range, or may simply prefer to have a clear idea what range categories mean. It is a struggle. When I first started playing games like this, especially when I was getting in the free league, because it does something very similar, it was a little bit of a struggle for me. But now I actually prefer having that abstractness because it's really based on whatever situation you have going on there.
Yes. All of these ranges are subjective to the initial person or thing you're looking at.
Yeah.
Like, you are close range to this guy, but you are extreme range to this other guy, even though you're considered, only 100 feet away. But in your situation, that's considered extreme range. If you are in reach distance of him, that means you are medium range to someone who is only 1 or only 2 range away, which normally would be, something else maybe. So it all depends on the perspective of your starting point or relative to you is range. But I understand why a lot of people would want numbers on that.
Yeah. Well,
because
again,
it
some
takes
people
a
simulations
lot to picture that in your head if you don't have a grid map.
The other caveat to that is I think you hit the 80% solution, the Pareto solution there, but there's another portion is there's a difference between being in let's say you're fighting outside a Walmart and you're in the parking lot.
Okay.
The parking lot may be 1 or 2 zones itself. Then you've got the door. Well, I might only be 10 meters from that door. However, that is a completely different range.
Yeah. That
zone.
is medium range.
Yeah, it's a zone because I have a definitive blocker there. There are obstacles in the way. So I might be fighting you in reach combat. That person over there is going to be a zone away. Even though it's not 200 yards or whatever the hell it says here, we'll talk about in a moment. That person is a zone away.
Because they have to use some kind of action to get through open door, through door, closed door.
Yeah, if that's how you want to see it, yeah.
Yeah, to get within close range. So their effective range is medium, even if they're only 20 feet away, because of the steps required to close the distance.
And this is all going to be GM call.
Barrier.
All GM call. So he might see it differently than me. You might see it differently than us, but as long as you understand it conceptually. Now, reach is approximately 2 meters. Like I said, most games do the 2 meter thing. Close range is approximately 50 meters, a lot longer than the Year Zero engine games.
Yeah.
Medium range is approximately 250 meters. So that means, that Walmart parking lot is pretty much medium range, right?
Sure. Long
range is approximately 500 meters, and extreme range is anything beyond that. And these are, again, approximate.
Sure.
It doesn't move that bullet moving or that guy moving 1 inch does not add that difficulty modifier on there. Like, 1 inch is a whole new difficulty. Good luck with that extra D20. Use some common sense. So what can you do? You can talk to people in your same zone. People in adjacent zones, you have to talk a little bit louder. But you have to be on medium. You have to yell at people. Hey! Why? Because it's approximately 250 meters. That's 2.5 football fields. You're not just like, hey, Heathen Dog, how you doing today? I'm great. You're actually going to be screaming that. Distance and perception. The further away something is, the harder it is to notice. In game terms, it means that characters in distant zones are harder to spot when being stealthy than ones nearby.
No kidding.
A character increases the difficulty of perception tests by 1 when trying to notice creatures and objects at medium range, by 2 at long, and by 3 at extreme. Anyway, you get the idea. Movement, character can move in a number of ways. A character can, as a free action, adjust his stance to any point within close range of his current position. So what was close range again?
50 feet.
50, it was a 50? Okay, yeah, that's right, 50 meters, yeah. So within 50 meters, you can move within 50 meters as an adjustment of your action.
That doesn't seem to make sense because of meters.
I understand.
Yeah, 50 meters is a long way for a free action.
But also remember that the time frames in this were 10 to 20 seconds.
That's true.
It wasn't 5 seconds. So things to consider. See, this is why I like abstractness to stay abstract. Once you start putting numbers on it, then people try to calculate
it. Breaks down. Yeah. It breaks down.
With the movement restricted action, character can move anywhere within his current zone, such as enter reach of another creature in that zone, or move to an adjacent zone as long as there's no difficulty moving between those zones. See terrain below. Okay, not going to read all that.
Say if you're inside the Walmart going to the parking lot, if the door's already open, fine. If not, then you can't do it as a free action.
Yep.
Okay.
Agree. Reach is that 2 meter range, and you can attack people there. Movement and terrain. Difficult terrain. This is taking quite a while. I don't want to break this up into two videos.
We don't need to do this.
I do want to hit. There's something I read in. Is it here? Ladders, movement, terrain, difficult, athletic. Okay, yeah, you do have to make an athletics test for difficult terrain. Ladders require additional. Entering or leaving these zones requires. So leaving the zone. So this is what I want to read. Entering or leaving these zones requires at least a restricted action and a D2 athletics test. Wouldn't that be a standard action? Just saying.
Yeah, that would be a standard action.
But
because it requires a test. So it would be a standard action. It's not a restricted action. Yep. Okay, I see it. Yep.
Falling. Let's do the falling. Damage is calculated. Really damage is calculated in building floors, roughly 3 meter increments. This isn't like some games where you can fall like 5 million feet. You fall a couple of stories in this one. Every floor after the first deals 1 plus 2 dark symmetry dice of damage. So it's 1 point for sure. And then you take 2 dark symmetry points of damage. So if you rolled badly, that's 5 points of damage. Ouch. So falling over 3 floors would be 3 plus 6 dark symmetry dice. Let's see, what's the worst roll there? 12, 15 points of damage. Bye-bye to a random location. Falling is not it's not good. You can use acrobatics to soak.
Okay.
Drowning, suffocation, exposure to vacuum. We're not going to read that. We're not going to read these characters either. This is just it shows some characters in the game. I think we're at a point where we can do. Okay, yeah. All right. This video is let's finish up with the comments, and then our next video is going to be on damage, wounds, and healing. Hopefully, we skipped a couple of things, but we really talked through a lot of it. It should give you a good example of how this game is played. And if you really cared about those 2 paragraphs that we didn't cover completely, buy the book.
There you go. And this is all of my self-edification. Again, Crafty praising me, which I deserve. And then here he is again. Apparently, I saved his day because he knew that you talking about this would make him cringe and want to, punch the screen. But I've saved him from having to, pay back the dealership. So that's great.
Hey, just because I don't care doesn't mean I don't understand.
There you go.